All right, so here's a powerful mental principle that you can use to get yourself to engage in productive action. Let's say you're trying to get yourself to do some act of discipline or self-sacrifice and you're feeling internal resistance. What you want to do is make sure that you very explicitly state to yourself what you stand to gain for doing the thing. Okay? Now, I know that this sounds like trivially obvious, but it actually is a very important thing that most people don't do. When most people have to do something and they're feeling resistance, they don't really think about it. They just start engaging in some sort of internal abstract pushing. They just kind of start, grunting inside of themselves, or maybe putting some guilt on themselves, like negative emotions start to arise because they know they're procrastinating, but they don't really engage with themselves in any sort of conversation. And what they're experiencing internally is that their motivational circuits are not engaged to do the thing. So for example, let's say that you've got a test to study for. All right, the average guy, he kind of just knows he's got this test coming up, and the stress kind of gradually mounts as it gets closer, and he pushes it out of his head and ignores it, and maybe he tries to force himself to sit down and do something, and maybe it succeeds for a little bit, but then he gets distracted by his phone, and then before he knows it, he's like cramming last minute for the test. Then afterward, he obviously beats himself up and says, "Oh, that was horrible. That was stupid. I shouldn't have done that." And he endeavors to never do that again. Well, if you don't want to do that again, what you have to learn how to do is literally in the moment of decision making, you have to learn how to empower your emotional self. Not overpower your emotional self, but to empower it. And the way that you do this is by feeding it the right information. That's the job of your rational mind. Your rational mind's job is to feed information to your emotional self. And your emotional self, if it's being fed good information, it's always going to choose a good action. You're never going to choose a self-destructive action if you are looking truly, honestly at the circumstances in front of you. So here's what you can say to yourself in that moment. You can say, "Hey, man, I know you want to watch YouTube right now, okay? But if we sacrifice this YouTube surfing, we can use that to study and get a great grade on the test, free from any stressful cramming later. And then after our studying is done, we can relax guilt-free." Now, this is obvious, right? This is something that we all implicitly know. But if you don't actually say that to yourself, then you never actually populate your circuitry with the information that would allow your emotional self to feel that truth. You have to explicitly state it. And then your emotional mind is going to be looking at the options. It's like, okay, we can watch some YouTube right now, and suffer later, or we can still have YouTube later, but with a little sacrifice right now, we can actually get our test done early, or we can get our studying done early. We can feel good about the test. We can then actually relax guilt-free later. Which one sounds like the better deal? It's obviously the second option, and your emotionality will feel that, assuming you don't got any, big internal complexes or limiting beliefs blocking you, which is, always possible. But, I'm talking about in the normal scenario here. Simply telling your primal self what it's sacrificing for makes sacrifice 10 times easier. And so this is why having a relationship with yourself between your emotional and rational aspects is so absolutely essential. It's going to make your life 10 times easier. So if you want to learn more stuff like this, then I have a full library of internal techniques designed to help you develop self-mastery in my Self-Mastery Club. All you got to do is check out my links. I'll see you in the next one. Ooh, yeah.